everybody, it's Suzanne A. Wells, and thanks for coming back for another episode of eBay the Right Way. This is episode number 26. Today's date is September 15th, 2021. I have another special guest who will give us some great information on improving your eBay business. She has been on eBay over 20 years. So we have been eBay friends for almost as long. So we go back a long way. Before we get into the eBay chat, I just wanted to let you know that I appreciate all of your feedback on these seller interviews. They're not really interviews. It's just sellers chatting. You guys really seem to enjoy these. So we're going to roll with that for a while. And I've got several more sellers lined up to just talk eBay because I know this business can be really isolating. You don't have a lot of people to talk to who get it. So through these podcasts, we can get to know each other so that when you see these folks on Facebook or social media, or in the YouTube comments, you'll know their story because everybody has their own unique story. And I'm just fascinated with people and their backstory. So I'll throw in some more episodes with the standard format of me ranting about eBay or some tutorials. Don't worry, the vocabulary builder is not dead. That will pop up from time to time. But right now we're on a roll with meeting other sellers and hearing their stories. And it's just more fun for me to make a podcast when I've got these great people to talk to. So all of that being said, we're going to get into this episode with Jenn in New Jersey.
I don't remember, gosh, this was a long time ago.
Yeah, I know.
We go through so much as eBay sellers. We just kind of adapt and move on.
Okay, so we have Jenn, my longtime eBay friend that never even met in person, to talk about eBay, the evolution of eBay, and some Amazon, and all the things we've done as resellers over the years. That is it just keeps evolving. So say hi to the listeners, Jenn.
Hi. Hi. How's everybody doing?
And you're located in?
I'm in New Jersey, southern New Jersey.
So
closer to the shore.
The biggest town near you is what?
I'm actually in Washington Township. I'm about an hour from Atlantic City.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Good for you. Okay. You ever go over there?
We do. We go to the outlets. Yeah.
Oh, well, there you go. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So give the listeners just a little recap of your entrance into the eBay lifestyle, which was, wow, over 20 years ago, right? Yeah.
I think we're one of the two who've been with it since the beginning. Like I've known about it. I've joined since like 1999, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I started selling on and off in 2000 when I was still working full time, so it was still like a novelty to me, just finding stuff. And then closer to 2002, 2003 is when I started getting more serious about it, when my first was born. Mm-hmm. First daughter was born, and
who is now just went to college.
Yeah, he just started her freshman year.
Is she still at home, or did she go away?
No, she didn't want to stay in a dorm. Mm-hmm. She wanted to at first, and then she just changed her mind last minute and decided to because she works as well. Mm. So she figured, let's just save the dorm money, and I'd rather work, and and her schedule's not that hectic, which is good. So,
well, I saw that she's at Rutgers, which is you're in your vicinity. So
yeah,
that
maybe
works.
20-minute drive at most.
Mm-hmm.
It's a straight shot down the highway and she's there, so it's quick and she can come and go as she pleases.
That's
So
good.
she's good. She's good. But yeah, I mean, she's happy. That's what it's all
That's
about.
that's all that matters.
So,
So she was born and you got into eBay.
yeah. And then corporate cutbacks happened.
What was
And
your corporate experience?
I was in banking.
Right.
I was a retail sales analyst in a regional office. So I headed up a lot of branches and did sales reporting and analysis of
Mm-hmm.
all that. And then, yeah, and I actually was in and out of banking while she was little, just part time, but it never remained steady.
Mm-hmm.
So I once again was let go because of corporate cutbacks, and they gave me a severance package, and I just took that severance package and ran with it from there.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been home on and off ever since. And my second daughter was born in 2009.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I went to banking into banking for a little while, and then I left after a while, and I was like, you know what, we can make this work full
So what
time
you
part.
went through 20 something years ago, people are going through now. Same thing of,
Yeah,
I have talked to so many teachers and nurses
yeah,
that
yeah.
are taking that early package because of all the
Mhm.
COVID hoops they have to jump through and all the, stuff they have to do every day that has nothing to do with their job. It's just all the protocol that is just, forced upon them, that, teachers having to make kids wash their hands more and, do all that kind of stuff. And they're just, or substitutes that don't want to go back because it's so much of a hassle now.
Yeah, we see that here
So
too.
yeah, so many people are coming to eBay because they just took an early retirement
Hmm. Hmm.
and they still want to make money doing something.
Right, and they have to understand they have kids too. So we come across a lot in the beginning. Um, well, the kid has to quarantine for 2 weeks. Well, as a working mom, I got to work.
Right. Yeah.
I
How are you
I
going to do
can't do.
that?
I don't have daycare. I have to work. you
Mhm.
know.
Right.
So that's what was happening here. Is the parents were like, well, I don't know about you, but I work. He or she can't quarantine for 2 weeks. I
Right.
can't leave work for 2 weeks. You know.
And I think it's worse in the north than it is down here in the south as far as cases and all that kind of stuff. Well, I mean, the hot spots change, but
Right.
I think it, like New York was just, so strict on everything. And
Yeah. Yeah. They still are. Hmm.
we had thrift stores here that didn't even close during the lockdown.
Wow.
Now, I didn't advertise that at the time, but I'm sneaking off with my sunglasses on,
Hey, yeah, good for you though.
getting out there and doing what you got to do. You still got to make money.
We were totally shut down.
Yeah.
Totally shut down. I didn't have anywhere to go.
Uh,
Um, source and trying to buy stuff online, there was a huge delay there.
yeah, because that's what everybody was trying to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was a while before anything opened back up again. And even at that, I remember waiting outside for my turn to
Mhm.
get inside. You
Right.
know.
Yeah. Number of people was
Yeah.
restricted. Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
But no, I think for the most part we're pretty much open now.
Yeah.
Um, except
And
for a
nobody
few
wants
places.
nobody wants to close again. So they're
No.
gonna they're gonna figure it out, like, okay, then we only have 10 people in here and
Right.
social distancing, stand on your
Right.
circle and
Right.
all
Right.
that. So
And as a
yeah.
person I consider myself pretty organized with my inventory, but now I've been keeping like little stash piles just in case, like just in case we close again, like I have that panic now, like, oh my
Yeah.
God, what if we close again?
Yeah, I mean,
So,
like a squirrel gathering nuts. You're
right.
putting that aside so that if
Yeah.
there's a famine, you'll be
Uh-huh.
okay. Yeah, I
Hmm.
totally get that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's my brain's working like that now. So,
So going back to when you first started eBay, am I remembering right that you had some medical issues with your pregnancy That tell that story because that really
I
is to a
was
lot of people.
I was bedridden, on bed rest for a while because of high blood pressure.
Mm-hmm.
So I would, and I always like to buy stuff off eBay, and I'd be like, hey, I have that, or hey, my daughter has that toy, like, and then your brain starts working, like, hey, I can sell that, and
Mm-hmm.
that's when you start like coming up with ideas of different ways you can sell your kids' clothes, and that's when I started selling kids' clothes. And all her stuff, I would lot her little pajamas up in the same size lot and put them on eBay, and I would sell them. And
So you were doing that while you were bedridden?
yeah.
How did that work?
Um, driving my husband crazy.
Ah, so he was the
Because
photographer.
we didn't have smartphones back then.
No,
you know.
no.
So it would be like, hey, could you get this and get me the camera? And
Okay, so you just directed him what to do,
Mm-hmm.
and then you did the computer part.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I guess you had a laptop.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. So and it was funny trying to figure out, when you're first starting and you don't have digital cameras, and you had to get the film developed and then scan it and then upload it, and then learning all that. They don't know how easy they have it now.
I know. It's like now I come home from the thrift store and it's like that thing is usually listed the same day.
Exactly.
Especially now that I'm cutting back on how much I buy. I'm really focusing on higher profit things because it's not as much listing. And why didn't I do that before?
Well, we couldn't.
because it's the instinct to buy. And it's like you see all this stuff and you're like, well, I could flip that and I know I can sell that and I've sold that before. But the restricting for only the higher profit things, that's another story though. But that's working. And it's just when you think when we started, you couldn't do that. You had to, well, when I came in digital, you could upload digital photos. So I had a camera with a memory card. So I would pull that out and put it in the computer to get the pictures. So I came in right after the, uploading of, taking actual pictures and having them developed and people mailing money in the mail, like, a money order or even cash.
Yeah.
I came in right after that because on the discussion boards, they were all like, oh, we're so glad that's over, so yeah, people today with a smartphone that you can just take a picture of something and list it immediately, like even in your car, like if you just bought it at the thrift store, people do that. They like take a picture of it in their car, do the background removal, it's up for sale.
I know.
Right after they buy it.
It's nuts. I know. It's like, you don't even, you can be mobile now. You don't even have to have a home base.
Yeah. And these people that do it in RVs and boats, I'm tracking them down to do some chats with them because
I'm amazed with that.
They have it.
I've always wanted to take a cross country trip just in an RV and just do that,
And the key to that is smalls and either doing free shipping or flat rate, because wherever you ship it from, it'll be the same. So you don't have to worry about calculated. So you have to think all that through and figure it out. But and then you ship it from the next town you hit, and or wherever you're locked down. Not locked down. That's not a good word. Wherever you're tied down, like at an RV park or whatever. Ship it from whatever's closest. But so going back to the early days, so you started with children's clothing, and I think we first crossed paths on Here Comes the Stork.
Oh my goodness.
Were you in that group?
I was.
For people who don't know, that was a private networking group for moms selling kids and babies clothing on eBay. And it was like $5 a month.
Right.
I mean, it was nothing. And so when I came along, I was not just focusing on kids' clothes. I was selling anything and everything just to keep it going. So I joined up and I I couldn't figure out why people were only selling kids clothes. And I would say, well, why don't you sell this? And oh no, they were very, particular and almost snooty about like Gymboree and
It was the higher end. Yeah.
Janie and Jack. And I was like, my kids never wore that stuff. I didn't know what it was. We were a budget family.
I was very into the boutique brands and the higher end brands of children's clothing. And
you even had your own website.
I did for a while. Yeah. And I don't remember, gosh, this was a long time ago.
Yeah, I know.
We go through so much as eBay sellers. We just kind of adapt and move on. But I mean, and as my kids got older too, I got out of it.
Right.
So, and I went through a phase for a while where I just sold anything and everything as well. I was even, I went into a partnership with my sister-in-law, and we would go out and do garage sales and everything. And
oh, right.
I mean, we would sell everything, but I mean, and that became a lot of work, and, we cut back on that, but, back in the early days, it was a lot of moms that were selling their kids stuff. Like they weren't intentionally buying for resale. They were just selling what they already had. Mm-hmm. And then several that I interacted with only did eBay at Christmas. They would go out like the Tickle Me Elmo thing where, Kmart had it and everybody ran out and bought them. And that was the first kind of retail arbitrage thing I remember, a toy at Christmas time. And, get it at Kmart for $20 and then it sell it for $300 and, all that. I mean, that was back in, right when I started, 2003. So going on 20 years for me too. And it's like, and it's so funny now when we talk to new sellers, like on the Facebook group and they're like, they've never heard of this. And it's like, really? You're allowed to do that? And I'm like, what do you mean allowed? You go buy it and you sell it. That's right. And people pay that much?
There's no retail arbitrage police that's going to say you can't resell that. And then, stores caught on and like Target would limit your amount that you purchase of one item and the time you had to return it and all that stuff. But that's been going on a long time. Did you do any of that in the early days?
I did on a few things, but I don't know. My problem is sometimes I usually am very late getting in on those types of things. And I feel like I do it every single time. Like I see the trend and I see people doing it. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to get into the trendy stuff because it never works and blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. And then you see it enough times and you just go out and do it. And I'm like, I should have done this like weeks ago. And it's already at the tail end and it's already starting to flop.
Well, but what you don't hear is about all the returns after Christmas.
That's true.
So for people listening who don't know this, like, okay, let's say it's a Nerf gun or whatever the hot thing is that year. And you go to Walmart and Target and you buy them for $20 and then you sell them on eBay for whatever, 60, whatever they're going for. Mm-hmm. And then supply catches up with demand. And in January, the mom is still within that return period, or the parent, whoever bought it. And they go out to, Kmart or wherever and buy one and return the new one to you, the eBay seller. And they figured out how to have their cake and eat it too. And the kid gets it on Christmas morning, but then the mom ends up returning it to the eBay seller. And it's still brand new because it's a different one that they just recently bought. And that was terrible on Amazon. Oh, so it is better to stick with the non-trendy, non-hype stuff because that's not going to happen. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah.
I still dabble in Amazon too. I am not hardcore Amazon by any stretch of the imagination.
Like we were.
Yeah, I still do. I feel like I do everything part-time. I don't know. Maybe when both my kids are out of school and on their own, maybe I'll eventually do it full-time, but yeah, it's just real busy. Right? It's always busy here. Always.
Yeah. I mean, you just got to work it in around your family, because you can't go back and do that over again. eBay
Right.
reselling is going to be there forever because it's been there forever.
Right. You know, yeah.
So,
I mean, and I take advantage of everything I can. I utilize the scheduling listing feature on eBay.
mhm,
I use that constantly. So I constantly have things listing. That's
mhm,
probably my favorite feature on eBay is that feature.
mhm,
Because, you know, there's days at a time where I won't be able to get to my own stuff, you
mhm.
know, and I'll have that peace of mind knowing that it's going to come out. It's going to be listed for me anyway. And I can keep that algorithm going, you know.
Well, and listeners, Jenn, in addition to running her own store and her family, is on my virtual assistant team.
Mm,
So she's listing things for other people
yeah.
as well. So that's one of the features we use, is that scheduled feature, so that the client can go in and
Yeah.
look at the listing before they send it live. So,
Hmm.
I mean, you're doing hundreds of listings a week sometimes that
Yeah.
are not your own.
Hmm.
Um, do you learn a lot that way? Like seeing what
I
other people
do.
are
I do.
selling?
Yeah, they come up with some stuff. You know, I do mostly clothing. But I have some clients that are um they list a lot of hard goods, a lot of
Mhm,
vintage hard goods, and that I learn a lot from because I'm not very into the hard good
mhm,
category. One client we have lists electronics.
mhm.
Like, and I look at some of the stuff he lists, and I peek over to my like stereo cabinet, and I'm like, do we still
Hmm.
need that? You know? Hmm. He also lists a lot of like I don't know if he parts them out or he buys them like that, but you know those big industrial coffee makers like in the corporate buildings.
Yes. Uh-huh.
He lists like parts to those, like the coffee maker. I'm like, oh my God, look at that. Like I learn a lot from the clients.
I wonder if he has access to that, and that's just a niche that he knows because maybe he repairs them or he remodels office buildings or something like that, where
Hmm.
that would
Hmm.
be something that shows up in front of him.
Yeah, yeah, it's just amazing what they come across. But yeah, like, you know, and we have our regular clients who like their clothes listed, which is fine, you know, because I get up and I get in my groove listing their stuff, and
Mhm.
you know, and
Well,
it's
and
nice to.
it's kind of like, once the clients get to the rinse and repeat stage where they're just kind of doing the same thing over and over, because when they're sourcing, they know, we all have our things that we look for that we know work because they work over and over again.
Right.
So that's the same for them.
Hmm. Hmm. And I love going in and seeing what they sold.
Yeah, that's the
You
best
know,
part.
I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, that's awesome. Like I'm really genuinely happy for them, and then I'm like, I listed that.
Yeah, well, and the thing is we've had a lot of VAs through our system, working for us, and life gets busy, and then they don't have time to do it anymore. But I have a screening process for when I hire them, because like you have to have enough experience to know how to write the listing, to know how
Hmm.
to write the title, to know all the rules of eBay. And um, you come up with some great keywords on those listings, because some of the clients are in the Facebook group and they post on Money Making Monday, and they'll mention you, and that you listed it, my
uh,
fabulous VA Jenn, and they're selling some high dollar stuff.
they are. I, and I'll when I complete their batch and I send them that batch complete follow up to let them know
Uh-huh.
that, oh, you can go ahead and list your items. I'm like, damn, you found some nice stuff this week. Like I'm jealous.
I know. It's like, wow. But it's a great, I think it's a great part-time job for the experienced eBay seller like you,
Yeah.
that, you can sit down and you make, a per item fee. And so you don't have to go find this stuff. It's just like a solid part-time job
Yeah.
where you get paid per item, and, you probably time block a couple hours, a few times a week to get them done.
My mornings are set aside for the client work.
Hmm.
I like to get up. Well, I'm up early anyway. Um, and now that school started, I'm up a little earlier, but I get up, I do my morning thing, let the dogs out, whatever, and I get started probably about 7:30, 8 o'clock on client work.
Hmm.
And I like to be done by lunchtime.
Yeah.
And then I have the rest of the day to do my stuff, you
Right.
know, until the kids come home or I'll run around. I know Wednesdays here, we have half price Wednesday at Salvation Army, so I do that. And
Hmm.
Sundays is dollar day at Goodwill, so I do that. I try and hit everything there.
You work it all in.
So I mean, you get it done. You just get it done. You do what you got to do, and of course, some weeks are better than others.
Hmm.
It's just the business, but I'm grateful for the clients every day when they send their batches.
Well, and the clients do have some hoops to jump through as far as getting the pictures done,
Hmm.
getting the, Dropbox link to us, knowing, being technologically advanced enough to know how to do those things. So, I mean, and we do have a screening process where we're not going to do super high end stuff or, very obscure collectibles that take a lot of research. We want the stuff that just you can rinse and repeat and just crank it out and
Yeah, it just flows.
isn't super complicated. But
Mhm.
the clients do have to have the experience to know what to tell us to do.
Mhm.
And so I do get I do get some pushback from brand new sellers who want to use this service for us to list their stuff. And it's like, no, you need to have 6 months experience. And I think it's 50 feedbacks from selling because you have to know what to do. And, they
Mhm.
have to know how to ship the items. When we first
Right.
started this back it was 2016, we first started this service.
Wow.
Um, we went through all the situations of like, oh yeah, we can't, that's not going to work because we'd get brand new people and then their stuff would sell and they wouldn't know how to ship it.
Oh
And
no.
they'd be, emailing me, I don't know how to do this. And they'd, have 10 things to ship. And so we were like, no, they need to know how to do all this,
Right.
and know the policies and procedures and understand how to do their settings and all that kind of stuff. So,
Mhm.
I mean, it isn't for everyone. It's a certain
Mhm.
kind of seller that it works well with. But like in your situation, well, in any VA situation, you're doing something else with that eBay knowledge.
Mhm. Mhm.
Not just buying and selling. You're using it in a different way and to help other people make money.
Right. 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 It's
So
a good
I,
feeling. Yeah.
yeah, it is because and then the clients will email me that they just love their VA, Jen,
Aw.
she gets it done so fast. And I mean, and I sold this and it costs them $2 an item to have us do it. And if
Yeah.
if it's $100 item and you're listing, 20 to 40 of them per week,
Mhm.
that's great.
Mhm. Mhm.
That adds
Yeah,
up.
I love to see their business grow. I really love that part.
Yeah.
To know where they started and where they are now, because we've had
Uh-huh.
some clients the whole time, the whole 3, 4, five
I know
years, haven't
some of them have done like 1,000 listings over
we?
time
Yeah.
or more.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, it's just crazy how much
Mhm.
work we're honored to do it. I mean,
Yes.
that they choose us because there's a lot of other VA services out there.
Mm.
But like outsourcing to other countries and you've got the language barrier and all that kind of stuff. But
Mhm.
um, you know, I think we're really providing a good service.
Yes.
And you and the other VAs that have so much experience to draw on to do this.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
you're not like somebody in the Philippines who's never even sold on eBay
Right.
that's trying to list something. It's like
Right.
that. Yeah, that'll work for a while, but then you start getting INADs or you get,
Right.
problems with your eBay buyers, and that's not a great thing.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we have some solid seller clients. We really do.
Yeah. And we really appreciate them.
We do.
So, so back to Amazon. When did you get into that?
Oh gosh. Probably I want to say, look at me. I'm trying to figure out how old my kids are and go back.
I know, that's what I do. It's like, what was I doing in life at that time? Oh, that was around 2009 for me.
Yeah.
You know?
I think I was even working at the bank. It had to have been 2010.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking is when I got into it with the books and
Yes.
dabbled in the toys. I remember going to BJ's Wholesale. I don't know if you
Oh,
have
wow.
that. You have that up there?
We do. Yeah.
And buying Juju pets.
Oh,
Those
my
little
goodness.
motorized hamsters. 'Cause
Yeah.
that was the toy one year.
Yeah.
I bought all they had.
Oh,
And
wow.
a cart full. And, everyone looked at me like, oh, are you donating this to an orphanage? What are you doing with all these? And I was just like, I didn't know what to say. And I'm like,
Right.
I have a use for them.
Uh-huh.
So, and, selling them on eBay and Amazon for like 4 times the price.
Right.
And so I remember, what was going on and when that was that was around 2010. So
Yeah. Yeah, I remember them.
So what kind of things did you sell on Amazon?
I did. I definitely started with books. I definitely did that. I cleaned out my entire house with books. I think I cleaned out the video games.
Mhm.
I did that. I dabbled in toys on and off, and to this day, I'm just not good at toys. I don't know why. Um, I think maybe it's the price point for me, even though I try not to think about that.
Mhm.
It's maybe because they're oversized. I don't like shipping oversized, but
Well, and they do take up a lot of room. And don't you have kind of
they
a
do.
smaller house?
Oh, tiny. Yeah, I have a 3-bedroom Ranger.
Well, I think
So
I've heard you mention, oh, that takes up too much space.
yeah, it does. It does. I'm in my dining room now, but my office is below me in the basement, and um, the office is only like a quarter of the space, and
Uh-huh.
it's pretty tight. Plus, all my eBay inventory is there,
Right.
and I don't like to intermingle the two. I like to keep it eBay and Amazon separate.
Mhm.
So my purpose for Amazon is to get it out of the house. You know?
So you
I don't
don't
want to
cross
store.
post on both.
I don't. Mm-mm.
Mhm.
Sometimes I think about it, but you know, I don't want to sell one on one platform and forget to take it off the other,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
vice versa. And I know there's programs out there that help with that, but I like to keep things simple. you know.
I know, I'm the same way. I'm like, I rely on my brain a lot, just, because programs can fail. There can be
Right.
glitches, and I've
Mhm.
experienced that. What was the
Mhm.
thing with the books and the barcode reader, and like it would tell you certain information, but you had to have the latest download. It was the scanning gun thing. It wasn't on the phone.
Oh.
It wasn't like
Oh, okay.
NBA
Like
Scout. It was,
the
or whatever
fob,
that's
or like the
called.
key fob, or whatever it was.
It was, no, it was a full size,
Oh, wow.
like you see in the store where they're
Uh-huh.
scanning with that gun before
Right.
it's on cell phones now. But so you had to actually hook it up to your computer with a USB cord and download all the information from whatever the name of this, what was that thing called? It wasn't Scan Power, it was some other thing. And so between the time you did that and then you go out and start scanning books, it's changed. It's different.
Yes.
There was a time it wasn't in real time, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
So that was, and then they had all the repricers. Remember that?
Yes.
Like
Oh,
price
yes.
it. And so, you would you would put in your criteria, and then so that you would be the lowest price, and then somebody would price lower than you, and then it would automatically price you lower than them. And then you got 100 sellers doing this against each other.
Yeah.
And everything was just, they called it the race to the bottom,
Yeah.
and it was like, that's when I quit doing all that automated stuff. Was like,
Mm-hmm.
this is kind of hurting my business. I'm never, because at some point, you might be the only person with that
Right.
item, and you don't want your price to be super low in that case.
Yep. You got to try and hang in there.
So did you have like thousands of items on Amazon in FBA?
No, I never did. I've always been under 100 items.
Uh-huh.
on Amazon. I never got that big. I don't know that I ever will.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not a goal for everybody, but that was the thing everybody was doing. And
Yeah.
I was like, oh, how does this work? And they made it sound so great with sending all your
Mhm.
stuff to FBA. You don't have to store
Mhm.
it.
Right. And now they have the prep centers and where you don't even prep it at your house. You send it to the prep center
Oh,
and
I didn't know
they tag
that.
it. Yeah, they tag it for you and send it to the warehouse and they take care of everything. And it's
So
like,
do you
oh.
trust that?
Yeah, I don't even have a prep center around here, so
Uh-huh. Okay.
I wouldn't even venture to research that. But I know people who they do the thousands and thousands of items in their inventory, and they just send it all to their prep center, and they take
Hmm.
care of it for them.
That's
You know.
interesting. I didn't know they had developed that. I
Hmm.
got out of 2014, 2015. I decided
Okay.
it was
Hmm.
just too crazy
Yeah.
for me.
Hmm. Hmm. It is. It's always changing.
Yeah.
Now they have limits on certain sellers that they can't send a lot of inventory anymore.
Mhm.
You have like a score that you have to stay a certain number you have to stay
Okay.
over. If you don't meet that level, then you have to cut back on your inventory. And it's getting a lot stricter. And now they're going after the bigger sellers to make sure they have business insurance, and you need
Hmm.
to you need to send them proof and all that stuff. I've never been a huge seller, so I haven't been targeted for that yet, but I don't know that I'll ever be that big.
And you don't
you
need
know
to if you don't want to.
right, exactly.
You'll work for
I have
you.
my financial goal every month that I have to meet, and I'm good with that right now.
How many items do you have in your eBay store?
I have about 700 now.
Hmm. Hmm.
you know and I find that I'm reaching my limit as far as storage.
Right.
so,
Yeah. Yeah.
so
And is what, like you said, you do a lot of clothing. What percent of your items are clothing?
like 90% are clothing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't like doing a lot of hard goods. I don't like storing them.
Yeah, that's the thing is it just gets unorganized, and
Yeah.
it's like energetically, I don't like it. It's just like a big old jumble of stuff, and it's
Hmm.
hard to close. Like you can put 40 things in a tub
Right.
and put the top on it and not look at it.
Exactly. Yep. And they're all nice and organized in the
Right.
back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I get that.
Mhm.
Are you willing to share like what are your go-to clothing items, like the ones that you see you don't have to think about, you just get them to resell?
Oh, sure. Definitely Chico's. I always pick up Chico's. Um, Quaker Factory.
Mhm.
I love that
Yeah,
brand.
those are some
I'll
fun
always pick it up.
pieces.
They are fun. Um, even the different Chicos, like Editions by Chicos or
Uh-huh.
Synergy by Chicos, like Chico's Travelers. I pick up all of those all the
And
time.
they keep making new ones like weekenders and
Yes.
well, I mean, that's not really new, but every now and then you'll be like, oh, I've not heard of this line before,
Right.
that was something
Hmm.
different.
Yep. I always pick up all of that. I have yet to find a Lululemon. I haven't found
I don't
any.
mind her.
No, I'm
Uh-uh.
like, and my clients will find them. I'm like, man, I wish I could find
I
this.
know. How are you finding that?
Yeah. And I pick up the old classics like Land's End or LL Bean.
Oh, those are my
Love,
go-to.
love
Yeah.
them.
They're just
Always
so
pick them
well
up.
made. Yeah.
Yeah. hmm I've even kept a few pieces because I'm like, oh man, I'm not going to find this again.
Well, and living up north where it snows and gets cold,
Yeah.
you find one of those really nice LL Bean flannel shirts that's like fleece lined. You're
Yes.
like, ooh, that's nice.
Yeah. Yep. I found
Yeah.
my daughter a couple winter coats from LLB, and I'm like, as soon as you outgrow that, let me know.
I know. Yeah. I mean, I do see that stuff down here in the South. Denim shirts and jackets and swim is very
Yes.
durable.
Yeah.
And there's several lakes near me, so lake communities. So I try to
Mhm.
go to thrift stores near there, and I'll find wetsuits and stuff like that. But yeah, it's like people think Land's End is like a crappy Sears brand, and they did have a collaboration for a while, but no, they go way back. So
they do go way back. When my parents retired to Florida about 3-4 years ago, and we went to see them over the holidays, and we went to Goodwill down there. My mom took me to her Goodwill because she used to do eBay. She used to do eBay a lot too.
I remembered that.
Yeah, and she's like, "Come on, let's go to Goodwill." I'm like, "Okay." And they had like racks and racks and racks of winter coats, the puffer coats, you know, the quilt coats.
Northerners get down there and like, I don't need this anymore.
I'm like, she's like, "Yeah, we don't need these down here." I'm like, "Oh my God, if I had a U-Haul, you know, you could stock up down there."
What part of Florida was it?
She is in Boca Raton.
Okay, right. That's a kind of an affluent area, isn't it?
Yeah. So she's down Fort Myers area.
Yeah.
Guess,
okay.
It's called, but yeah, they're down there. I'm like, wow. And you don't think like that. I don't think like that in New Jersey. You know, I'm up in New Jersey. We need all seasons all the time.
Right.
You know. So, but yeah, she's like, yeah, I don't know. And then like when we go to her Target or her Walmart or whatever, they still sell all the seasons, but it's just not needed really.
Yeah.
You know. So and so there's a lot of donations and a lot of sales on that leftover stuff that you know, I'm like, man, I should come down here on the off season so I can stock up for my season.
Yeah, do a thrifting trip. I mean, it's a big expense, and get a U-Haul when you get down there and just bring it back.
Right.
I would totally do that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So,
but yeah, you wouldn't think of there's the Wilson's leather.
Yeah.
They don't need that down there, you know, that kind of stuff. You know, the heavy leather coats, they don't need the North Face, Patagonia, they don't need any of that kind of stuff there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she's like, well, it does get chilly. It does go into the 60s. I'm like, that's kind of beautiful weather here.
I know, that's kind of perfect here in Georgia.
Right.
Not 90 degrees.
Right.
Well, what I find, and one reason I specialize in cashmere is that happens here. I think people move. I mean, Atlanta is famous for, you know, I don't want to say transients, but people moving here on purpose for job transfers. And, you know, a lot of people coming in from not just other parts of the US, but all over the world. We have little pockets of, you know, there's a lot of technology here. So people come in from other countries and, you know, they're only here for 2 years, but to do a project or whatever. So, you know, they get here and they realize, oh, I don't need these cashmere sweaters. I don't need these, you know, fisherman, LL Bean, fisherman knit, you know, cable knit sweaters, these really nice items.
Yes.
And so that's what I look for is, you know, even in the summer, they're on the rack because there's so much being donated. And so that I kind of figured that out, that, you know, here in Georgia, that's a thing that I can find cheap because yes, cashmere is luxurious, one of the finest fabrics ever, but you don't get a lot of chances to wear them here because it just doesn't get cold enough. But, you know, and they go to people all over the world. But what's funny is like, maybe one will go to Alabama and they'll be like, you know, yeah, I'm a nurse and I work, you know, the hospital's always cold, or they work in a lab, or, you know, somewhere it's freezing cold and they've got their sweater on under their scrubs or whatever.
Right.
So, you know, with all these assisted living and nursing homes being built, you know, those are kind of cold inside. So even the residents, you know, need sweaters, even if it's 90 degrees outside, because it's cold in there. So you got to think, you know, you got to think outside your experience when you're selling.
Yeah.
New people, new people don't get it. They're like, why would someone buy a bathing suit in January?
Oh, I sell them all the time. All the time.
Cruise time.
Yep. Being from where we are, we love going on vacation in the winter.
Yeah. I mean, you have cruises that leave from out of there.
Yep. Yeah. Probably we have quite a few ports now. There's Maryland. There's a port in Maryland. There's several in New York. We leave out of Delaware. I think there's a port. I'm not sure about that, but
Yeah, I
yeah.
mean they're all over. So and
Mhm.
like, all the water therapy now with
Yep.
all these baby boomers and their hip replacements. That's what I see at the aquatic center. They have a special warmer, shallower pool for water therapy. And I mean, you got to have a bathing suit to get in there.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
maybe you had your hip surgery in January and you can start swimming in February. And it's like, you got to have a
Mhm.
bathing suit. So,
Mhm. It's
yeah.
funny because when the kids were home because of COVID and they were on remote learning, they only had half days when they did it because they weren't going to keep them on the computer all day. So
Yeah.
they would do their classes in the morning, and then my 12-year-old would come with me to the thrift store. She loves the thrift store. So um, I taught her how to look for cashmere. And she would just go through all the racks for me,
Oh, good
look
for
for
you.
look for the cashmere. And yeah, she's really good at it, but she's not interested in it, but she's really good at finding things,
So you give her a task and she can go on a little treasure hunt while you're
Yeah.
doing other things.
hmm And
Yeah.
she's always asking, like, Mom, is this a good brand? Mom, what about this brand? Mom, what about this? And she'll come back with, and I won't even tell her sometimes, and she'll go out and come back with Land's End and LL Bean and
Hmm.
J. Crew, and she'll be like, "Here, Mom," and she'll like throw them in the cart, and I'm like, "Did you look to make sure there's no holes?" And she like, "Mom, I looked over everything." And I
Oh, that's
trust her. I
great.
trust her. I trust her
Yeah.
100%. And when I get home and we're taking tags off, I'm like, they're nice. They're perfect. Like she did
So
her
she's
job.
learned to identify quality without really looking.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's the thing is when you can shop by texture and
Yeah.
sight, um, that's going to help you find those higher quality items because
Yeah.
they feel different. They look
Mhm.
different. Like you can
Mhm.
see have you ever found Johnny Was up there?
No, no,
It's
I
a
look though.
highly embroidered stuff. And I mean, you can see it hanging on the rack next to all the other stuff.
Yep.
So, I mean, I look for anything embroidered or with
Colorful.
sequins or
Yeah.
cable knit or
Yeah.
the fuzzy that could be cashmere. A
Right.
lot of those blends will fool you.
They will.
They're getting good at those blends.
They are. They are. I know. Yeah, like you can usually spot a good Lily Pulitzer from across the room if it's one of
Oh
those really
gosh,
vibrant
that's
ones.
yeah. There's a lot of copies of that. Like
There
people
is.
trying to what's that brand? Crown and Ivy. They
Yeah.
they imitate that. But
Hmm.
yeah, you can look for that bright pink and green, all
Yep.
mixed in. And so what I found the other day that I've never found? Two
Two.
Coogie, two Coogie or
Are
Coogie
you kidding?
sweaters. And I was at this crappy little thrift store that it has good vintage items. Like you're not going to find high end clothes in there, but
Uh-huh.
I saw a pattern and I was like, oh, and I looked at it and I was like, oh my God. And it was almost in perfect condition. And I've got
Wow.
it up for like 350
Wow.
because they're just crazy prices now. Well, then I'm leaving and I see the rack where they've just pulled it out of the back to put stuff out. And I've never really look on those racks because they tell you like for courtesy, don't
Right.
shop
Right.
from that rack. Let us put it out. And so I try to be the compliant shopper so that I don't
Hmm.
draw
Hmm.
attention to myself.
I do
But there
too.
was
Yeah.
another one hanging right there, and I'm like, I'm getting it. You know what? I've been in Goodwill twice a week for almost 20 years. I'm going to take these.
Oh my God.
So I've got that one up for 250 because it's a
Uh-huh.
cotton one. But these things just show up in front of you and it's like, really? I did not expect that.
Yeah. I've only found a couple alpaca sweaters. I've
Uh-huh.
only found a couple. And I love finding those. Even though I've only found a couple, I always look for alpaca. Love that. Love that texture. I just love the feel.
What is that one brand that's the high-end Peruvian Connection? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So they make some really pricey stuff.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's one that you can see. It's kind of rough looking and compared to the other sweaters, it just looks
Hmm.
different.
Hmm. Hmm.
Well, you
Yeah.
definitely have a good eye after all this time.
Oh, I I still love it. I don't know that I ever won't, like, and I
Yeah.
feel like it's always been there. Always, like eBay has always been there,
Right.
and if you utilize it and you're consistent with it, it really pays off. And it's got me through a lot of tough times,
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
know.
Yeah.
So, and I know people complain about the changes and the fees and all this stuff, but I mean, I still think it's the best way to go, you
Yeah, I
know.
mean, even if you think back pre eBay, there were people that went around to garage sales and then they take that item to a consignment store,
Right.
or they would buy stuff from other people's garage sales and then resell it in their own for a higher price. I mean, it's
Right.
reselling goes back to the beginning of time. I think
Exactly. I mean,
it's
I
just
used to
how
sell
do you
on
want to do it?
I used to sell on Craigslist, you
Yeah.
know, all the big stuff on
Hmm.
Craigslist. And I still sell some things on Facebook Marketplace, like maybe the bigger items,
Hmm.
you know. But eBay is my primary. I think it probably
Yeah.
always will be.
Yeah, I mean, there's all this Let Go and Next Door and all these other
Mhm.
places to do it locally. So I just find that people don't show up when I do
Yes,
those
that's my
things.
problem too. Yeah, yeah. Around here, they don't show up.
Yeah, so it's kind of ends up being a waste of time because
Hmm.
you might go meet them and then they don't even show up, and you're like, oh, I could have listed 5 more things in the time that I've been sitting here in the car.
Right. Exactly. Yep.
Well, wow, we have talked about a lot of different topics.
Oh wow.
So, any final words for new people or just people that are struggling and not seeing the success they want?
I say stick with it. I've been through the tough times, where you've had at the time where you had like $3 in your PayPal account, and
Hmm.
you wonder where that next bill payment's going to come from. And it doesn't cost anything to list it.
Hmm.
Of course there's there's always fees when you sell stuff, but just stay consistent and stick with it is my best advice. And you know um list at least one thing a day, at least one. Everybody can do one thing a day, and utilize that scheduling feature. I have my listings are scheduled out as far as I can. I have one item launching every day,
Hmm.
and then if I can list more that day, I just pile them on and list
Hmm.
them that day. Last week, like I said, my daughter gave me that stack of books. I was able to list everything. So I think I listed like 20 of my own items that day.
Hmm.
And it felt so good just to accomplish that. And then knowing the next 2 weeks, even if I don't list anything, I still have those scheduled listings that are going to launch every day.
Right.
So I had that peace of mind knowing that, okay, I can get my other stuff done if I had to, or my clients are always first in the morning. So I
Hmm.
know I can focus on them, and then, leisurely rest of the day with my stuff,
Right. Because
like,
that's guaranteed money because it's per item.
right,
Yeah.
right.
That's
Hmm.
that's the, when we designed the program, it was like, I think sellers would like doing this because it's guaranteed. It's like going in for your job for 3 hours and then you have the rest of the day to do your own stuff. So
Hmm. Yep.
that
Like when
works.
we hang up, I have 2 big bags of Goodwill items I have to detag and prep them.
Process.
Yes, process my inventory,
Right.
get them ready. So I found a pair of UGG boots for $1. I'm like so excited to
Oh,
list them. I
you're
know.
kidding.
No,
That's
I
great.
saw I saw 3 pairs at Dollar Day at Goodwill, and I only picked up one for $1. The other ones were, I don't know what they were thinking when they were pricing them at like $15-$20. I wasn't going to pay that much for them. They weren't $1.
They'll be there in a month for $1.
Right, exactly. So I'm like, I'm looking at the tag color, trying to remember, burn it in my brain what the tag color was. So when I go next week, if it's $1 tag
Right.
color, I'll just like go to that rack real fast because I remember where they were. But you know, oh, and also probably good for new sellers as well is look everywhere. don't just stick to like the rack of cashmere sweaters. Don't just look everywhere, because I have found women's clothing and men's clothing and women's clothing and children's, like men's shoes and women, like it's everywhere in the store, and you never know.
They'll put stuff in their cart and they'll be like, yeah, I don't want that. And they'll just throw it in like the bin of bras. And it's like
change my mind.
Vintage Charlie Brown plush,
right.
It doesn't belong there at all. And it's like, oh, somebody put this here, but let me check it out. I find stuff like that all the time.
Yeah. I always find like pink men's shirts in the ladies section. I always find that.
Right.
Stuff like that. So
have you ever found somebody's stash?
Yes.
Like, they're gonna come back on the next day, the color changes and they hid like all this stuff behind the pillows. And I'm like, ooh, thanks for picking all this for me. I got this. I found your treasure.
Yeah, exactly. Like you'll see like all the same colors bunched together.
Yep.
And I'll be like, I know what that is.
It's like I found like Anthropologie dresses in the men's coats, and it's like there's 3 of them, and it's like this was not an accident. Somebody
exactly
coming back, and I'm like, well, you know what? Finders keepers, losers.
That's right. You snooze, you lose.
That's right. So, well, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to do this podcast.
Thanks for having me.
You have some great information, and I know the listeners are going to enjoy this. So
thank you.
And thank you for all your hard work with our clients, because they just rave about you and your work. And I'm just so fortunate to know you and to have you on my team.
Yes, I appreciate it.
Okay, we'll get to listing or processing.
That's
all
right.
Those treasures.
All right.
Thanks, Jen.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Jen, for taking the time to chat with me and do this podcast. I do want to say that Jen is my good luck charm, because after we recorded this episode, I went out thrifting for the day and I found a Lululemon, which I have not found one probably in 4 or 5 years. So I was out shopping and took a picture of it and texted it to Jen and told her she was my good luck charm. So thanks, Jen. Keep sending that good mojo my way. Okay, well, that wraps up this episode. Thanks again for tuning in and spending some time with us. I really appreciate all of you listeners out there who tune in every week. So I'll end with my standard: have a profitable and productive and fun day on eBay. Talk to you next week. Bye.